Sino-Futurism. Sino-Futurism is an invisible movement, a specter already embedded into 1 trillion industrial products, 1 billion individuals, and 1 million veiled narratives. It is a movement, not based on individuals, but on multiple overlapping flows. Flows of populations, of products, and of processes. Because Sino-Futurism has arisen without conscious intention or authorship, it is often mistaken for contemporary China. But it is not. It is a science fiction that already exists. This video essay is a retroactive manifesto for Sino-Futurism, combining historical fantasy, documentary melodrama, and social realism with Chinese cosmologies. Although China only recently became the factory of the world, this is only the latest incarnation of the Chinese work ethic. It is a work ethic based on farm labor and large families, in an agrarian society prone to natural disasters, within a Confucian belief system that values hard work as the only insurance against a turbulent world. Multiple stereotypes of this Eastern other are everywhere. Whether Chinese Olympic athletes are branded as robots, or Chinese students or tourists are likened to swarms, or Shenzhen factory workers are criticized for flooding the marketplace, the subtext is the same. It is the dehumanization of the individual into a nameless, faceless mass. On the other hand is the Orientalist aesthetic narrative, where China is the exotic other, eternally unknowable, mysterious, powerless yet seductive. But rather than resisting cultural clichés, Sino-Futurism embraces 7 key stereotypes associated with China. These are its guiding principles: computing, copying, gaming, studying, addiction, labor, and gambling. At a material level, it is already everywhere, in architecture, in the products and technologies that we use every day. However, I propose something more radical. I propose that Sino-Futurism is in fact a form of artificial intelligence, a massively distributed neural network, focused on copying rather than originality, addicted to learning of massive amounts of raw data rather than philosophical critique or morality, with a post-human capacity for work, and an unprecedented sense of collective will to power.
And Xinhua, a Chinese state government-run news organization, just revealed the first AI news anchor. They trained the model on video data from real news anchors, so it was able to learn relevant features like speech patterns and facial movements. Of governance, some of which date back to 5,000 years ago. Their values reflect Confucianist philosophy, meaning plurality, pragmatism, and collectivism, not individualism. All of this has shaped its government. And it's impossible to talk about China's rise to AI power without talking about its most powerful figure, Xi Jinping. Xi is the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party. He's at the core of a 7-member standing committee of the Politburo, and together they form the innermost circle of China's governance structures. All Chinese institutions, including the government, court, military, and crucially tech companies, report to this party. Xi's 40-year-long ascent to the presidency involved 16 major promotions through county, city, and province levels, and then numerous other institutions, with reviews at every single state to assess his leadership abilities. And despite numerous human rights abuses, endless press censorship, and environmental damage, this authoritarian structure has driven China to become the second largest economy in the world. Xi has near absolute power. The man is even enshrined in the Constitution itself. This is important because a quick look at his bookshelf during his annual New Year's Day greeting shows that he has copies of Pedro Domingo's The Master Algorithm and Brett King's Augmented Life in the Smart Lane, both of which discuss AI technologies in detail. I've read The Master Algorithm. That book is technical. It covers concepts like Bayesian inference and support vector machines. Xi understands the transformational power of AI at a technical level, arguably more than many other world leaders. And this has manifested itself in China's ambitious AI plan. By 2020, it envisions that China's progress in AI should keep pace with the world's advanced level, while its AI industry becomes an important economic growth point. By 2025, it wants to have achieved a major breakthrough in AI to reach a leading level, with AI becoming the primary driver for China's industrial advances and economic transformation. And by 2030, it wants to become the world's premier AI innovation center, a $1 trillion AI industry.
In the future, we will be able to sculpt our bodies like living sculpture. Our bodies could be beautiful electronic designs that shimmer prismatically in the light, in the morning light. It could change forms. It could become a piece of marble on one hand and then totally mutate into some fluid type of luminescent, snake-like quality.
It's a conservative statement to say that by 2025, we'll be able to look inside your brain, see everything that's going on, all the interneuronal connections, all the synaptic clefts, all the neurotransmitter strengths, and create a huge database and copy down every salient detail, and then reinstantiate that information in a neural computer of sufficient capacity and create basically a copy of the thinking process that takes place in your brain. Now that's one scenario, but it's really an existence proof to show that we can tap the secrets of intelligence that exist in, let's say, the human brain. Once we've scanned that information, we can also understand it, see how it's organized, improve on it. We can extend it. We can make the memory 1,000 times bigger. We can make it faster. We can expand the perceptual capabilities.
The subject of this speech is a topic which has been discovered recently and which may not exist at all. I may be talking about something that does not exist. Therefore, I'm free to say everything or nothing. I, in my stories and novels, often write about counterfeit worlds, semi-real worlds, as well as deranged private worlds, inhabited often by just one person, while meantime the other characters either remain in their own worlds throughout or are somehow drawn into one of the peculiar ones. This theme occurs in the corpus of my 27 years of writing. At no time did I have a theoretical or conscious explanation for my preoccupation with these pluriform pseudo-worlds, but now I think I understand. What I was sensing was the manifold of partially actualized realities lying tangent to what evidently is the most actualized one, the one which the majority of us, by consensus gentium, agree on. Later that day, back home again, but still deeply under the influence of the sodium pentothal, I had a short, acute flash of recovered memory. Then, in mid-March, a month later, the total body of memories, intact and entire, began to return. You are free to believe me or to disbelieve, but please take my word on it that I am not joking. This is very serious, a matter of importance. At that time, I had no idea what I was seeing. It resembled nothing that I had ever heard described. It resembled plasmic energy. It had colors. It moved fast. It collected and then dispersed. But what it was, what he was, I am not sure even now. In other words, it's a common theme in my writing that a dark-haired girl shows up at the door of the protagonist and tells him that his world is delusional, that there's something false about it. Well, this did finally happen to me. I even knew that her hair would be black. I had an actual complete sense of what she would look like and what she would say. She did appear. She was a total stranger, and she did inform me of this fact, that some of my fictional works were in a literal sense true. I wrote out these dreams in novel after novel, story after story. To name two in which this prior ugly present obtained most clearly, I cite The Man in the High Castle and my 1974 novel about the U.S. as a police state called Flow My Tears, the Policeman Said. I'm going to be very candid with you. I wrote both novels based on fragmentary residual memories of such a horrid slave state world. People claim to remember past lives. I claim to remember a different, very different present life. I know of no one who has ever made this claim before, but I rather suspect that my experience is not unique. What perhaps is unique is the fact that I'm willing to talk about it. We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.